Real estate investing is supposed to be sold as financial freedom. More doors, more cash flow, more leverage. But there's a second balance sheet that nobody shows you. I crossed the line that everybody says to chase, 30 rental units. And that's when I realized some wins come with the regrets that you don't see until it's too late. Spreadsheets don't show it, podcasts never talk about it, and the gurus that always ask you to subscribe to their channel and try to sell you a course pretty much never talk about this. So let's get into it. First of all, I have lied because I have bought and owned way more than 30 units. I actually own almost 200 units. Here's one thing you need to know. Over TikTok, YouTube, and all these platforms, most of the people will only tell you what they did right, their success stories. Most of the people are embarrassed to tell you what I'm about to tell you, but I will. Number one, I wish someone would have told me that you really don't make much money on rents. You make most of your money on appreciation. Let's be honest, we have all been there. When we first started real estate investing, the cash flow, monthly rent, right? It's nice to sit on the couch every month and someone pays you a rent check. We care about the cash flow. And a lot of people fall into the trap that, well, if I buy a piece of property cheap enough, let's just say in a D-class neighborhood, a cheap, high crime, low income neighborhood, I probably have better cash flow, right? In some towns, you can find a house as cheap as $40,000 and you can rent them for $900 a month. On paper, that's a beautiful return. But let me tell you this, a $40,000 house versus a $400,000 house, they both have a fridge that will cost you $800 to repair. They both have an air conditioning unit that will cost you $7,000 to replace, a water heater $2,000 to replace, a $300 plumbing call for a plumber to replace a faucet. The repair bill is not any cheaper on a cheaper house. And I'm just talking common sense. People tend to take care of their houses a lot better than the lower income neighborhoods. By no means I'm discriminating anybody, okay? I grew up on the bad side of the town. And there's a reason why Section 8 pays you more rent than open market. Let me show the math. Why I said you don't make money on rents, you make money on appreciation. For example, to make the math easy, you spend $100,000 to buy a house, all cash, no mortgage, and that house rents for $1,000 a month. Well, let's take off the expenses: property tax, maintenance, insurance, management, capital expenses, vacancy reserve. At the end of the day, you probably make between $6,000 to $8,000 a year. Let's say you make $8,000 a year after all the expenses. $8,000 divided by your $100,000 investment, that's an 8% return on your money. Then you have the 5% appreciation. On average, over the past 100 years, US real estate market, they appreciate 4.7% a year. So that's where I came up with the 5%. Well, scenario number two, you borrow the money to buy this $100,000 house. So you spend $20,000 to buy this $100,000 house that rents for $1,000 a month. 5 years later, again, to make the math simple, assuming there's no closing costs and no realtor costs and all that stuff. I'm just showing you on the paper. 5 years later, 5% appreciation compounding each year. That $100,000 house is now worth $127,000. Assuming that $1,000 per month rent covered all your expenses. You didn't have to put any money into it. And that includes the mortgage payment. So you don't make any money from the rental income. If you sell a house, you get your $20,000 down payment money back. And then you make $27,000 worth of profit with your $20,000 down payment money. 27,000 divided by 20,000, that's at 135%. And now we do the Asian math. That is an 18.6% year over year compounding. We call it IRR, internal rate of return. So scenario number one, you made 8% return on your rental income, 5% appreciation, which is 13%, versus scenario number two, 18% compounding. And if you have $100,000, you can buy 5 of these properties instead of just one. And this is why I said you make most of your money on appreciation, not the rental income. To summarize it all, you buy good quality asset at good locations and hold it long term. And the second thing I wish someone would have told me, real estate investing, it is a full-time job. First of all, you need to hire a property manager. No offense to you, you probably don't know what you're doing. There's a reason why we hire a lawyer when we get in trouble, or hire a CPA to do our taxes. We're hiring them for their expertise. If you're doing this yourself, most likely, most of the people that I know, they micromanage their deals, they believe in the sober story, and put someone that really just shouldn't have been there into their property and take them forever to get them out. They don't raise the rent properly. Here's the trick. Whenever you screen a tenant, always walk them to their car. If they take care of their cars, they're going to take care of the property. If they have 2 months old McDonald's fries and ketchup stain everywhere, good luck with your property. And here's a bonus. If someone has a good FICO score, that usually, in most cases, they're going to be good tenants. If someone really takes care of their credit score, something virtual, they're going to take care of something physical, which is your property. True story. And whenever you hire a property manager, they're going to nickel and dime you. You need to know this. A property manager is a for-profit company. Finding a good property manager is like finding a good employee, which nowadays is impossible to find. They make money on your lease lease renewal fees, they're going to charge you half or maybe the full first month worth of rent. Late fees, all of these are on top of the 10% or maybe you're lucky 8% of the gross rent management fee they're going to charge you. And some shady ones, they even charge you 10% on top of the repair fees. So guess which contractor they're going to call? The expensive one or the cheap one? If they hire the expensive contractor, they're going to make the 10% on top of what the contractor charges them. Be very careful out there. Number 3, oh, you're a landlord, you're in real estate, you must be a baller, you're a millionaire, right? Now lend me some money. I'm sorry, most of the real estate investors are mom and pops, and they are broke. Real estate investors are equity rich, but cash poor. If you had paid $100,000 for a piece of property and today it's at $250,000 valuation, can you use that $150,000 gain? If you sell a property, it's like you harvest a chicken. The chicken will stop laying eggs for you. If you refi the property, you're probably going to lose your amortization schedule and you will realize most of your money went to the interest. It did not go into your equity. This is something very important. If you have gotten something out of this video, let this be it. Have a really good relationship with a local bank. Local bank, medium-sized bank, not JP Morgan, not Bank of America, not Wells Fargo, okay? They don't care about you. Have your depository relationship with them and ask for a HELOC or portfolio line of credit against your property. So it's kind of like a credit card against your property so you can access the equity, and it's a lot cheaper than selling or refi the property. And use it as a checking account. If you don't use it, put your money back. And if you're a real baller, buy the property cash and have a first lien HELOC line of credit on this property. So then your rate is a lot lower. I'm just telling you this, I have this myself with a local bank and my rate is currently floating and a prime minus half. Some people may call me stupid because I didn't lock in my rate, but most of the time HELOCs are floating rate, which is why I said use it as a checking account. You don't necessarily have to have cash, but having access to that cash or equity is very important. Because if tomorrow Empire State Building is for sale for $100,000, which is worth billions of dollars and the symbol of America, I want to be able to buy it or at least bid on it. And the fourth thing, tax saving. Oh, Uncle Sam is taking too much money from me, so let me buy some more real estate so I can save money on my taxes, right? That is a lie. Most of the people are not CPAs, and what I'm about to tell you, I pay my CPA way too much money, and I'm sharing this with you for free. So please like this video. You have two categories of income, passive and non-passive. Income from rents, basically from your real estate investing, that is a passive income, and your W-2 income is a non-passive income. Most of you are watching, if you have a job, you make W-2 income. When you depreciate a piece of property, that depreciation can only offset your passive income, not your non-passive income, not your W-2 salary, unless if you're a REPS, REPS, Real Estate Professional Status, and per IRS.gov website. You need at least 750 hours a year, or at least 50% of your time doing real estate related activities. So if you're a doctor paying half of your income to Uncle Sam and already working 40 hours a week, unless you don't want to have a life and work 81 hours a week, that real estate investment is not going to save you any tax money. People say buy a piece of property, you can depreciate it, only offset your rental income. And then when you sell the property, you have to give that money back. And you only depreciate the building, not the land, over 27.5 years. If you ask me, I'll make that 5 years. And whenever you do the depreciations buying real estate like this, oh yeah, you betcha your CPA is not going to charge you extra doing your taxes. Again, I'm telling you this from paying way too much money to my attorneys and CPAs. So please consider to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Yes, I'm begging. And here's also one thing you need to learn about the depreciation on the house. Murphy's Law. Anything can go wrong, will go wrong. And we are also taught if something ain't broken, don't fix it, right? Every time you have a maintenance guy to go to the property, that will cost you $300. The passive loss on a piece of property is huge. There's a reason why Uncle Sam allows you to depreciate the building part of the property over 27.5 years, not the land. Again, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to make another video showing you what this passive loss is, and you'll be amazed how high the phantom cost of owning a house is. I'm going to show you how you actually should underwrite a deal. And honestly, these days, I use the 50% rule. Most of people will click on YouTube and look up how to calculate numbers on a rental property, and the first video pops out is always Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets, and then showing you how to underwrite numbers on a piece of whiteboard, and he will pull out numbers like insurance, property tax, how much money you should put aside for vacancy, reserve, capital expense, and the maintenance and all that stuff after owning almost 200 doors of rentals. This is how I do rent divided by half using the 50% rule. Like I said, you may not feel this when you only own 5, 10, maybe 20 properties, but when you own 200 units, every single month something's broken. You need to replace a fridge, you need to replace a roof, you need to replace an air conditioning unit, a tenant moved out, you need to paint the entire unit again, replace the floor. Half of your rent goes to that. Number 5, don't get scammed. Real estate is a lot of sales. You have realtor, wholesalers, these gurus trying to tell you how to do real estate, and some YouTubers. These people don't get paid until you close a deal, until you buy something. So their job is trying to sell you something, and a good salesman will sell you on your emotions. How to get rich quick in 30 days. This is the crypto coin you need to buy right now. This is the next Bitcoin. Heard of this? Familiar? By the way, do you know each real estate transaction feeds over 50 people? Alright, realtors, their brokers, inspectors, surveyors, underwriters, mortgage lenders, closing attorney, title, photographers, contractors, movers, and the list can go on. Real estate is a relationship game. It's a people's business. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you want to be good at real estate investing, gotta be good with people. It's always people. Let me say this again, because it is that important. If you want to be good with real estate investing, you have to be good with people. Real estate is a people's business. Want me to say it 3 times? No, I'm kidding. Please don't click off. And last but not least, the most important. Money makes a terrible foundation for your life. Terrible. I've met a lot of wealthy and anxious people in this business. Real estate taught me optimization. However, Jesus taught me dependence. And only one of those will bring you freedom. Please be careful who you listen to, because a lot of people who are trying to sell you financial freedom are also enslaved by it. If you have any questions, want to hear my personal opinions, comment down below. And I guarantee you, it will be my honest answer from someone who's not trying to sell you something. Maybe I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel.